Millionaire abandons infertile wife and returns years later to find she's raised twins on her own. The November rain pelted against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Anderson estate, matching the storm brewing inside Veronica's chest as she stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. Another negative, the third one this month. She closed her eyes, letting the cold bathroom tiles ground her as she struggled to steady her breathing. At 35, Veronica Anderson had everything society claimed a woman should want. A successful husband, a stunning home in Boston's affluent Beacon Hill neighborhood, and a walk-in closet filled with designer labels she rarely wore. Everything except the one thing she desperately yearned for: a child. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the house, followed by the familiar rhythm of Ethan's footsteps. Veronica quickly wiped her tears and disposed of the test, plastering on the brave face she'd perfected over the past year of trying to conceive. "Ronnie," Ethan's voice carried up the spiral staircase. "Dr. Morrison's office called the firm today." Her heart stopped. The fertility specialist's verdict, the one they'd been waiting for, had finally arrived. Veronica gripped the marble countertop, steeling herself before descending the stairs to face her husband. Ethan Anderson stood in their living room, his 6-foot frame silhouetted against the stormy backdrop of the Boston skyline. At 38, he carried himself with the unwavering confidence of a man who had never heard the word no. His dark suit, perfectly tailored to his athletic build, was barely wrinkled despite the long hours at his investment firm. "What did they say?" Veronica asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's jaw tightened. "The tests were conclusive. The damage from your childhood illness. It's permanent. They don't recommend pursuing further treatments." The words hit her like a physical blow. Permanent. Final. The end of a dream she'd carried since she was a little girl playing with dolls in her mother's garden. "There are other options," she managed, stepping closer to him. "We could look into surrogacy or adoption." "Stop." Ethan's voice was cold, distant. He turned to face her. His green eyes hardened with an emotion she'd never seen before. "I've been thinking about this for weeks now, preparing for this possibility. I can't do it, Veronica. I can't settle for someone else's child." The room began to spin. "Settle, Ethan. A child is a blessing, regardless of how they come to us." "A blessing?" He laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "I built this life from nothing. Everything I have, I earned through hard work and sacrifice. My legacy deserves to be carried on by my own flesh and blood." "Your legacy?" Veronica's voice cracked. "What about our love, our marriage vows? In sickness and in health." "I meant those vows," Ethan interrupted, loosening his tie. "But this isn't about health, Veronica. This is about the future I've always envisioned. A son or daughter of my own to mentor, to shape, to pass on everything I've built." Tears spilled down Veronica's cheeks. "So that's it. 11 years of marriage mean nothing because I can't give you a biological child." Ethan walked to the bar cart, pouring himself 2 fingers of scotch. "I've already spoken with my lawyer. The papers will be delivered tomorrow. You'll be well taken care of. The house in Martha's Vineyard, a generous monthly allowance." "I don't want your houses or your money." The words exploded from her chest. "I want my husband to love me enough to stay." "Love isn't always enough." He downed the scotch in one swallow. "Sometimes we have to make hard choices to protect our dreams." "Your dreams," she corrected, her voice hollow. "What about mine?" The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating their faces in harsh white light. Veronica saw every line of determination in Ethan's expression, every wall he'd built between them. "I'll be staying at the Four Seasons until the papers are finalized," he said finally, setting down his glass. "Take whatever time you need to make arrangements." As he walked past her toward the stairs, Veronica reached for his arm. "Please, Ethan, we can work through this. We can find another way." He gently but firmly removed her hand. "I'm sorry, Ronnie. I truly am. But this is for the best." Veronica stood frozen as she listened to him pack a bag upstairs, her world crumbling with each item he chose to take. When he came back down carrying his leather weekend bag, he paused at the door. "You'll understand someday," he said softly. "We both deserve a chance at the life we really want." The door closed behind him with a quiet click, leaving Veronica alone in the vast living room. The storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows like nature itself was raging against her pain. She sank to the floor, her legs no longer able to support her weight. Hours passed as she sat there, watching the storm transform into a gentle drizzle and finally clear, revealing a cold winter moon. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, probably her sister Lauren or her best friend Michelle, both of whom had an uncanny sense for when she was in crisis. But Veronica couldn't bring herself to move, to speak, to acknowledge that this wasn't just a horrible nightmare. As dawn began to paint the sky in shades of pink and gold, Veronica finally stood. Her legs were shaky, her heart shattered, but something else was stirring in her chest, a tiny spark of defiance. Ethan had made his choice, choosing his dreams over their love. Now it was her turn to choose. She walked to their home office and opened her laptop. With trembling fingers, she began to type, "Local adoption agencies in Boston." The screen filled with results, each one a possible path to a different kind of future than the one she'd planned. Veronica Anderson had lost her husband, but as she began to research adoption requirements and processes, she made a silent vow to herself. This ending would become her beginning. She would rebuild her life on her own terms, and she would prove that family wasn't about blood or legacy. It was about love, pure and simple. She just didn't know yet how completely that vow would transform her life, or that in 4 years' time, the man who had walked away would return to find a woman he barely recognized, a woman who had found strength in the very thing he had rejected. 4 years earlier, the Golden Heart Adoption Center stood like a beacon of hope against the April sky, its red brick facade warmed by the morning sun. Veronica sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel as she watched families coming and going through the front doors. Each one represented a different story, a different path to creating family bonds that transcended blood. 3 months had passed since Ethan's departure. 3 months of crying herself to sleep, of dodging pitying looks at charity events, of enduring whispered conversations that stopped the moment she entered a room. The divorce papers sat signed on her lawyer's desk, but Veronica wasn't ready to let anyone see her break. "You can do this," she whispered to her reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back looked different from the polished socialite who had hosted dinner parties in Beacon Hill just months ago. Her brown eyes held a determination that hadn't been there before, and her usually perfectly styled hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. The adoption orientation meeting wouldn't start for another 20 minutes, but Veronica needed these moments alone to gather her courage. Lauren, her sister, had offered to come with her, but this felt like something she needed to do on her own. Her phone buzzed with a text from Michelle. "You've got this, V. Call me after." Michelle had been her rock through the divorce, showing up with wine and takeout on the nights when the silence in the house became too loud. She never once questioned Veronica's decision to pursue adoption as a single mother, even when others suggested she was moving too fast. Taking a deep breath, Veronica grabbed her leather portfolio and stepped out of the car. The spring breeze carried the scent of blooming cherry blossoms, nature's reminder that new life could emerge from the coldest winters. Inside, the center bustled with activity. A wall of photos showcased successful adoptions, smiling families of all shapes and sizes. Veronica's eyes lingered on a single mother holding a toddler, both beaming at the camera with identical grins. First time here, Veronica turned to find a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair. Her name tag read Patricia Wilson, Director. "Is it that obvious?" Veronica attempted a smile. "Only because I've seen that same look hundreds of times." Patricia gestured toward a hallway. "The orientation room is this way. Would you like to walk with me?" As they walked, Patricia's warm presence helped ease some of Veronica's tension. "I know this might sound strange," Veronica admitted, "but I feel like I've been holding my breath for months, and walking through those doors was the first real exhale." Patricia nodded, understanding. "There's no right or wrong way to start this journey. Every story is unique." The orientation room was already half full when they entered. Couples sat close together, single parents clutched information packets, and all of them shared the same mix of nervousness and hope that Veronica felt. Throughout the 2-hour session, Veronica took detailed notes, her professional instincts kicking in as Patricia and other staff members explained the adoption process. Home studies, background checks, waiting periods. Each step seemed simultaneously daunting and achievable. As the meeting wound down, Patricia approached Veronica again. "Do you have a moment? There's something I'd like to discuss with you." Curious, Veronica followed Patricia to her office, a cozy space filled with more success story photos and children's artwork. "Normally, we don't discuss specific cases during orientation," Patricia began, settling behind her desk. "But something about your application caught my attention. You mentioned being open to siblings. Veronica nodded. I grew up with a sister. Some of my best memories are of having that built-in best friend. Patricia's expression softened. We received 2 newborns last night. Twins. Their mother. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Made the difficult decision to leave them in our care. They're perfectly healthy, but finding a home willing to take 2 infants can be challenging. The world seemed to stop spinning for a moment. Twins? Veronica's heart raced with possibilities. Would you like to meet them? The nursery was quiet except for the soft whirring of a humidifier. In separate cribs, 2 tiny bundles dozed peacefully. Veronica approached slowly, afraid to break the spell of this moment. A boy and a girl, Patricia explained softly. Born just 36 hours ago. Veronica peered into the first crib. The baby girl's tiny fists were curled against her cheeks, her rosebud mouth making gentle sucking motions in her sleep. In the next crib, her brother stretched, his dark eyes blinking open to study Veronica with surprising intensity. Would you like to hold them? Before Veronica could answer, the baby boy began to fuss. Without thinking, she reached down and gently lifted him, cradling him close. The moment he settled against her chest, something shifted in the universe. His sister, as if sensing her brother's movement, began to stir. Patricia lifted the baby girl and carefully transferred her to Veronica's other arm. Standing there, holding both babies, Veronica felt tears sliding down her cheeks. But for the first time in months, they weren't tears of sorrow. Hello, little ones, she whispered. I've been waiting my whole life for you. The babies gazed up at her, the boy gripping her finger with surprising strength while his sister nuzzled closer. In that moment, Veronica understood what Ethan never had. That family wasn't about carrying on a legacy or sharing DNA. It was about the love that bloomed instantly and unexpectedly, about hearts recognizing their missing pieces. The process isn't simple, Patricia cautioned gently. As a single mother, taking on twins. I know, Veronica interrupted, her voice firm, but nothing worth having ever is. These children deserve a home where they'll be treasured for exactly who they are, not who someone wants them to be. I can give them that. Looking down at the twins, Veronica saw more than just 2 orphaned babies. She saw hope, purpose, and the chance to build something beautiful from the ashes of her past. Ethan had walked away because biology meant everything to him. But holding these precious lives, Veronica knew with absolute certainty that love meant more. Their temporary names are Baby Boy and Baby Girl Doe, Patricia mentioned. But if this moves forward, you'll have the opportunity to name them. Veronica thought of her grandparents, Oliver and Charlotte, who had shown her that the strongest families were built on choice, not obligation. Oliver and Charlotte, she said softly, testing the names. The babies seemed to respond, settling even more contentedly in her arms. As the afternoon light filtered through the nursery windows, Veronica began to see the outline of a new future, one filled with midnight feedings, first steps, and twice the love she had ever imagined possible. The path ahead would be challenging, but standing there with Oliver and Charlotte in her arms, she knew she had found her way home. What she couldn't know then was that this moment of perfect clarity would be tested 4 years later, when the man who had deemed adoption an unacceptable option would return, forcing her to protect not only her heart, but the precious family she had built. Present day. Mommy. Oliver took my last dinosaur nugget. Charlotte's indignant voice carried through the kitchen of their renovated Cambridge townhouse. Veronica looked up from her laptop to find her daughter, hands on hips, giving her brother the impressive glare she'd perfected over their 4 years together. Oliver, meanwhile, was already halfway through the contentious nugget, brown eyes wide with feigned innocence. Did not, it was mine, Oliver protested around a mouthful of breaded dinosaur. Oliver James Anderson. Veronica used her gentle but firm voice. Did you ask your sister if she was finished? Her son's guilty expression told her everything. But Mom, she always takes forever to eat, and I was still hungry. Veronica closed her laptop, moving to the kitchen counter where the twins sat at their special breakfast bar, complete with built-in booster seats they were quickly outgrowing. Remember our conversation about respecting each other's space? Oliver nodded slowly, his dark curls falling into his eyes. He turned to his sister. Sorry, Charlie. I should have asked first. Charlotte's scowl softened immediately. It's okay. Next time we can share. Watching them make peace, Veronica felt the familiar surge of pride and love. The twins might not share her DNA, but they had inherited her heart completely. Oliver's protective nature and Charlotte's quick forgiveness were traits that still amazed her daily. Tell you what, Veronica opened the freezer. How about we all share the special ice cream after dinner? The one with the cookie dough pieces. Twin pairs of eyes lit up. Yes, please, they chorused. But first, she checked her watch. We need to get ready for swimming lessons. Who can get their bag packed first? The kids scrambled off their seats, racing toward the stairs. Their thundering footsteps overhead brought a smile to Veronica's face as she cleared the lunch dishes. 4 years ago, she never could have imagined this life. The woman who had hosted formal dinner parties and worried about social appearances had been replaced by someone who knew the lyrics to every Disney song and kept emergency band-aids in every purse. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. Drinks tonight. Michelle's in town. Veronica typed back, can't. Swim lessons, then promised the twins ice cream. Rain check. Lauren's response was immediate. You need adult conversations sometimes. Bring them to Mom's. She's been begging for grandkid time. Before Veronica could reply, Oliver appeared in the doorway, swim bag clutched triumphantly. Done first. Charlotte wasn't far behind, her bag dragging on the floor. Mommy, I can't find my lucky goggles. Check the drying rack from last week, Veronica suggested, helping Charlotte search while Oliver did his victory dance. The goggles were indeed on the drying rack, and soon they were all piling into Veronica's SUV, a practical replacement for her old sports car. As she navigated through Cambridge traffic, she listened to the twins' animated conversation about who would swim the furthest today. At the pool, Veronica settled into her usual spot on the observation deck, laptop open to review contracts for her consulting business. She'd started the company 2 years ago, allowing her to work flexible hours from home. It wasn't the high-powered career she'd once envisioned, but it gave her something more valuable, time with her children. Mrs. Anderson. Veronica looked up to find Lisa, one of the other swim class moms, settling beside her. Please, it's just Veronica, she corrected automatically, though she'd kept Ethan's surname for the twins' sake. Sorry, Veronica. I wanted to ask, Oliver's birthday party next weekend, is it still okay if both my kids come? Jordan's been talking about it nonstop. Of course. The more the merrier. We've rented the entire indoor playground. As they chatted about party details, Veronica watched Oliver help Charlotte adjust her swim cap before their lesson began. Such a simple gesture, but it made her heart swell. The instructor, Ryan, caught her eye and waved. He'd been teaching the twins for 6 months, and Veronica had deflected several subtle hints about getting coffee. It wasn't that Ryan wasn't attractive. With his athletic build and easy smile, he'd starred in more than a few of her daydreams. But dating as a single mother of twins felt like an impossible equation. You know, Lisa interrupted her thoughts. Ryan asks about you every time I'm early for the previous class. Veronica felt her cheeks warm. I'm not really. She trailed off, watching the twins practice their kicks. Fine, it's complicated. Being a single mom doesn't mean you have to be alone forever, Lisa said gently. The twins clearly adore him. They adore him as their swim teacher, Veronica corrected. Dating would make everything messy. Besides, they're my priority. Lisa looked like she wanted to say more, but just then Oliver executed a perfect dive, and both women cheered. Charlotte, not to be outdone, followed with her own dive, earning equal applause. After class, as Veronica helped the twins shower and change, she caught fragments of conversations from other parents about an article in the Boston Globe's business section, something about a major investment firm's expansion. She didn't pay much attention. That world felt like a lifetime ago. Back home, while the twins worked on their homework at the kitchen table, Veronica prepared dinner. The routine was so familiar now, checking Charlotte's math while stirring sauce, helping Oliver sound out difficult words while the timer counted down. Mommy, Charlotte looked up from her worksheet. Katie at school said everyone needs a daddy, but we don't have one, and we're okay, right? The question caught Veronica off guard. She turned from the stove, choosing her words carefully. Families come in all different shapes and sizes, sweetheart. Some have a mom and dad, some have 2 moms or 2 dads, some have just one parent. What matters is that we love and take care of each other, like how Oliver always saves me the red gummy bears because they're my favorite, Charlotte asked. Exactly like that. And how you always kiss our Owies better, Oliver added. That's right. Veronica pulled them both into a hug, breathing in the chlorine and shampoo scent of their damp hair. We're the perfect family just as we are. Later that night, after ice cream and stories and tucking two tired swimmers into bed, Veronica curled up on her window seat with a glass of wine. The city lights twinkled beyond the glass, and somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Her phone lit up with another text from Lauren. "You can't hide from the world forever, V." "It's been 4 years." Veronica stared at the message, thinking about Ryan's smile and Lisa's words at the pool. Maybe they were right. Maybe it was time to open her heart to more than just her children. What she didn't know was that fate had other plans. In less than 24 hours, she would come face to face with Ethan Anderson for the first time in 4 years, and every certainty she'd built her new life upon would be shaken to its core. The morning started like any other Tuesday. Veronica dropped the twins at their Montessori school, exchanging quick hugs and I love yous, before heading to her favorite coffee shop in Harvard Square. The barista had her usual order, an oat milk latte, ready before she reached the counter. "Thanks, Kevin," she smiled, dropping an extra $1 in the tip jar. "No problem, Ms. A. Big consultation today?" She nodded, adjusting her laptop bag. "Video call with a tech startup. They need help restructuring their HR policies." The bell above the door chimed as she turned to leave, and then time stopped. Ethan Anderson stood in the doorway, as immaculately dressed as ever in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. 4 years had added subtle touches of gray at his temples, but otherwise, he looked exactly as she remembered, right down to the Rolex gleaming on his wrist. The coffee cup slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a splash that seemed to echo in the sudden silence. Hot liquid soaked into her heels, but Veronica barely noticed. "Hello, Ronnie," Ethan said softly. The familiar nickname snapped her out of her shock. "What are you doing here?" Kevin appeared with a mop, concern written across his face. "Everything okay, Ms. A?" "Fine," she managed, though her voice sounded strange to her own ears. "Or I'll get out of your way." She moved toward the door, but Ethan blocked her path. "Can we talk?" "I have a meeting. Please." His green eyes held something she'd never seen before. Uncertainty. "Just 5 minutes." Veronica glanced at her watch. The consultation wasn't for another hour, and she'd prepared thoroughly the night before. 5 minutes? She agreed, more to avoid a scene than anything else. They walked in silence to the small park across the street. Early morning joggers passed by, completely unaware of the earthquake happening in Veronica's world. "You look good," Ethan offered, gesturing to a bench. Veronica remained standing. "What do you want?" He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she remembered from their early dating days. "I'm back in Boston. Permanently. The firm is expanding, opening a new headquarters here. Congratulations." "Is that all?" "No, He paused, seeming to struggle with his words. "Another first. I heard about the twins." Ice crystallized in Veronica's veins. "From who? Does it matter? Why didn't you tell me?" A laugh bubbled up from her chest, sharp and bitter. "Tell you. You made it very clear you wanted nothing to do with adoption. What was it you said? You couldn't settle for someone else's child?" Ethan flinched. "I was wrong." "No." Veronica's voice was steel. "You were honest. Probably the most honest you'd ever been with me. You showed me exactly who you were and what you valued. People change, Ronnie. Don't call me that." She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm spring morning. "You lost that right 4 years ago." A young mother passed by, pushing a stroller. Veronica watched her, thinking of her own children, safely ensconced in their classroom, probably working on their morning reading exercises. "They're beautiful," Ethan said quietly. "I saw them yesterday, at the playground near your house." The revelation hit her like a physical blow. "You were watching my children." "Our children." "No." Veronica stepped closer, anger replacing her shock. "You don't get to do that. Oliver and Charlotte are my children. I was there for every sleepless night, every fever, every milestone. Where were you getting your hair cut at that overpriced salon, having your suits tailored, building your precious legacy? I made a mistake." Ethan's voice cracked. "The biggest mistake of my life. Not a day goes by that I don't regret walking away. Your regret is not my problem." Veronica's hands were shaking, but her voice remained steady. "I built a life without you. A beautiful, messy, perfect life filled with chicken nugget negotiations and swimming lessons and bedtime stories. I want to make it right." "Make it right?" She laughed again, but this time there were tears behind it. "Do you know what Oliver asked me last Christmas? He wanted to know if Santa could bring him a daddy who wouldn't leave." Charlotte still sleeps with 3 nightlights because she's afraid of being left alone in the dark. Those wounds are your legacy, Ethan. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. I was wrong about everything, he said. About family, about what matters. Seeing you with them yesterday. You're amazing with them, Ronnie. The way Oliver helped Charlotte with her shoelaces. The way they both look at you like you hung the moon. It's everything I thought I wanted but was too blind to see. Stop, Veronica held up a hand. You don't get to walk back into our lives just because you've had some sort of epiphany. The twins aren't a do-over for your mistakes. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like the same old Ethan Anderson, deciding he wants something and expecting the world to bend to his will. A jogger slowed as he passed, probably noticing the tension between them. Veronica forced herself to take a deep breath. I have to go, she said, checking her watch. I have clients waiting. You're working again? Consulting, she replied automatically, then cursed herself for engaging. Not that it's any of your business. Can we have dinner? When she started to protest, he added quickly, just to talk. There are things you need to know, things I need to explain. I'm not interested in your explanations. Then how about closure? Don't we both deserve that? Veronica studied him, really looked at him for the first time since he appeared in the coffee shop. There were new lines around his eyes, a weariness in his posture that hadn't been there before. The polished exterior was the same, but something had shifted underneath. Friday, she said finally. 7 o'clock. The Harvest Restaurant in Harvard Square. I have a sitter until 9, so don't be late. Relief flooded his features. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She gathered her laptop bag closer. And Ethan, if I ever catch you watching my children again without my knowledge, I'll have a restraining order so fast it'll make your head spin. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement with each step. Only when she was safely around the corner did she allow herself to lean against a building, her legs suddenly weak. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michelle. Lunch today, Veronica typed back with trembling fingers. Emergency. Need you, now. The response was immediate. On my way. Your office or mine? Neither. Remember that bottle of wine we were saving for a special occasion? This is it. Because some mornings required more than just coffee to face the ghosts that refused to stay buried in the past. Michelle's penthouse office overlooked the Boston harbor, but Veronica barely noticed the sparkling water or the boats dotting the horizon. She sat curled in the oversized armchair by the window, shoes kicked off, wine glass in hand, while Michelle paced the room. He was watching them at the playground. Michelle's voice rose with indignation. That's borderline stalking, V. We should call Richard. She reached for her phone, already scrolling for their lawyer's number. Not yet. Veronica took another sip of wine, letting the expensive Cabernet ground her. He's many things, but he's not dangerous. Just a self-centered jerk who abandoned you when you needed him most and now wants to play happy families. Michelle finished, her protective instincts in full force. Something's different about him, Veronica admitted quietly. He seemed, I don't know, lost maybe. Michelle stopped pacing to study her friend. Please tell me you're not considering letting him back into your life. Of course not. But even as she said it, Veronica remembered the unfamiliar vulnerability in Ethan's eyes. The twins are my priority. I won't let anyone disrupt their lives. Good. Michelle settled onto the couch, kicking off her own heels. As one of Boston's top divorce attorneys, she'd seen too many reconciliation attempts end in disaster. Because the Ethan Anderson I remember cared more about his company's stock price than actual human emotions. Veronica twisted her wine glass, watching the liquid catch the light. Do you remember that night, right after he left? When you came over with that horrible cheap wine and those amazing dumplings? From that sketchy place in Chinatown? Michelle smiled. You were sitting on your kitchen floor in his old Harvard sweatshirt. You said something that changed everything. You said, maybe this isn't the end of your story. Maybe it's the beginning. And look at you now. Michelle's voice softened with pride. You built your own consulting firm, bought that beautiful townhouse, and you're raising 2 amazing kids. You didn't just survive, V. You thrived. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the office floor. In a few hours, Veronica would need to pick up the twins from their after-school program. Oliver had karate today, and Charlotte had been begging to show her the new dance routine she'd learned. I agreed to have dinner with him, she confessed. Veronica, just to talk. Friday at Harvest? Michelle leaned forward. Cancel it. Send him an email saying you've reconsidered. I need to know why he's really back. Veronica set down her wine glass. If he's planning to stay in Boston, I need to understand his intentions. The twins, she trailed off, thinking of their innocent faces. The twins have everything they need. They have you, but someday they'll have questions. About their birth parents. About why Ethan left. I need to be prepared. Michelle's expression softened. Then let me come with you. I'll sit at the bar, keep an eye on things. I'm not one of your clients needing protection from an abusive ex, Veronica reminded her gently. Ethan's crimes were emotional, not physical. Sometimes those hurt more. Michelle topped off both their glasses. Remember when you first told me you were adopting the twins? I thought you were having a breakdown. Veronica smiled at the memory. You made me promise to wait 6 months, until the divorce dust settled. And you looked me straight in the eye and said, my heart doesn't need 6 months to recognize its missing pieces. They finished together. You were right, Michelle admitted. The moment I saw you with them in the hospital, I knew you were meant to be their mother. Veronica's phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. Michelle called. Want me to accidentally on purpose run into Ethan with my car? Your sister's plotting vehicular assault. Michelle grinned, reading the text over Veronica's shoulder. The Anderson women are nothing if not protective. Veronica typed back a quick, no assault necessary, but rain check on those drinks. Speaking of protective, Michelle's tone turned serious. What are you going to tell the twins? The question hit Veronica like a punch to the gut. Nothing. Not yet. They're too young to understand all this. And if they see him around town? Boston's not that big, V. Veronica closed her eyes, remembering how Charlotte had asked about needing a daddy just the other day. I don't know, she admitted. For the first time since the adoption, I don't have a plan. Yes, you do. Michelle reached over to squeeze her hand. Your plan is the same as it's always been. Protect those kids and keep being the amazing mother you are. But what if? Veronica hesitated, voicing the fear that had been gnawing at her since the coffee shop. What if seeing him stirs up old feelings? What if part of me still loves him? Michelle finished softly. When Veronica nodded, she continued, that wouldn't make you weak, V. It would make you human. But loving someone doesn't mean letting them back into your life, especially when there are 2 little hearts at stake. Veronica's phone chimed with another text, this time from the twins' after-school program, reminding parents about the upcoming spring performance. The mundane notification anchored her, reminding her of what really mattered. I should go, she said, standing to gather her things. Oliver has karate, and you know how he gets if we're late. Just like his mother, perpetually punctual. Michelle stood to hug her. Promise me something. What? Wear that red dress on Friday. The one that makes you look like a goddess and cost more than my first car. Michelle, not for him, her friend clarified. For you. So you remember exactly who you are now. Not Ethan Anderson's ex-wife, but Veronica Anderson, badass single mom and CEO of her own company. Veronica felt tears prick at her eyes. What would I do without you? Drink inferior wine and make questionable fashion choices. Michelle's attempt at humor didn't quite mask her concern. Call me after dinner on Friday, no matter how late. Promise. As Veronica drove to pick up the twins, her mind wandered to the red dress hanging in her closet. She'd bought it 2 years ago for a charity gala, her first major social event after the adoption. She'd felt invincible that night, standing on her own 2 feet, no longer in anyone's shadow. At a red light, she caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who had crumbled when Ethan left. This Veronica had weathered storms and emerged stronger, had learned that the best kind of love didn't come with conditions or ultimatums. Her phone's GPS announced the turn for the Children's Center. In 15 minutes, she'd have 2 energetic 4-year-olds competing to tell her about their day. Oliver would demonstrate his newest karate move, and Charlotte would insist on showing her the dance routine at least 3 times. That was her reality now. Not coffee shop confrontations or dinner with ghosts from her past, but as she pulled into the parking lot, Veronica couldn't shake the feeling that Friday's dinner would change everything. She just wasn't sure if it would be for better or worse. The Harvest restaurant hummed with Friday night energy as Veronica handed her keys to the valet. Michelle had been right about the red dress. Its familiar elegance felt like armor. She'd pulled her dark hair into a sleek chignon, a style that reminded her she was no longer the woman who had once lived her life according to Ethan Anderson's expectations. He was already there, of course. Punctuality had always been one of his virtues. Through the restaurant's windows, she could see him at a corner table, checking his watch. A nervous gesture she'd never associated with him before. "Mrs. Anderson," the maitre d' smiled warmly. "Mr. Anderson is waiting for you." She almost corrected him. Almost said she'd kept the name for the twins' sake, not out of any lingering attachment. Instead, she simply nodded and followed him to the table. Ethan stood as she approached, and for a moment, she caught a flash of something raw in his expression before his usual polish slid back into place. "You look beautiful," he said softly. "You're not allowed to say things like that anymore." Veronica sat down, placing her clutch beside her water glass. "We're here to talk, nothing more." The waiter appeared with menus and a wine list. Ethan reached for it, then hesitated. "Still prefer Pinot Noir? I can order my own wine." She turned to the waiter. "Sparkling water, please. I'm driving." If Ethan was surprised by her sobriety, he didn't show it. He ordered the same, and for a moment, Veronica wondered if he was trying to mirror her choices. Another un-Ethan-like behavior. "How are they?" he asked, once the waiter left. "You don't get to start there." Veronica met his gaze steadily. "First, you're going to tell me why you're really back in Boston." Ethan loosened his tie slightly, another nervous tell. "The official reason is the firm's expansion. We're opening a new headquarters here, focusing on sustainable investment strategies." "And the unofficial reason?" He was quiet for a long moment, staring at his water glass as if it held the words he needed. "I saw your picture in Boston Magazine. The article about women entrepreneurs changing the city's business landscape. You were at some charity event, with the twins, the Children's Hospital fundraiser," Veronica remembered. The photographer had caught a candid moment of her laughing with Oliver and Charlotte. "You looked complete." Ethan's voice cracked slightly. "While I've spent the last 4 years feeling increasingly hollow." The waiter returned with their waters. They ordered quickly, neither really focusing on the menu, and then the silence stretched between them again. "Hollow?" Veronica finally repeated. "You chose this, Ethan. You walked away because biology meant more to you than love." "I was wrong." He leaned forward, his voice intense. "I was so focused on creating this perfect legacy that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. It took losing you to realize that family isn't about DNA or carrying on a name. It's about love, commitment, choosing each other every day." Pretty words. Veronica took a sip of water. "Did your therapist help you practice them?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Actually, yes. 2 years of intensive therapy, trying to understand why I was so obsessed with biological legacy." That caught her off guard. The Ethan she'd known would have rather cut off his own arm than admit to needing therapy. "What did you find out?" she asked, curiosity getting the better of her. "That I was terrified of not being good enough." He ran a hand through his hair. "My father, you remember how he was? Nothing was ever enough. Perfect grades, athletic scholarships, business success. He always found something to criticize. I convinced myself that having a biological child would finally prove my worth, that I could be a better father than he was." "So you abandoned your wife when she needed you most?" The words came out sharper than she intended. "I told you, I was wrong. Spectacularly, unforgivably wrong." Ethan's green eyes held a pain she'd never seen before. "But seeing you with the twins, the way they look at you, the way you've created this beautiful family, it made me realize what a fool I was." Their appetizers arrived. Neither had touched their water. Veronica stared at her salad, remembering the countless business dinners where they'd discussed everything except what really mattered. "Oliver has your smile," Ethan said quietly. "No." Veronica's head snapped up. "You don't get to do that. You don't get to claim pieces of them just because you've had some sort of epiphany." "I'm not trying to claim anything. I'm trying to tell you that I see it now. What you saw all along. That family is about hearts connecting, not blood linking. It's too late for these revelations, Ethan." "Is it?" He pushed his plate aside, untouched. "I'm not asking to step in as their father. I know I haven't earned that right. But maybe I could be part of their lives in some way. Get to know them slowly, on whatever terms you set." Veronica felt tears threatening and blinked them back. "Do you know what I did the day after you left? I went to a fertility support group, not because I was still trying to get pregnant, but because I needed to understand how to move forward. There was a woman there, Rebecca, who'd been trying for 12 years. Her husband had stuck by her through every treatment, every disappointment, That's what love looks like, Ethan. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. I know I failed you. Failed us. The twins aren't a do-over for your mistakes. That's not what this is about. Ethan reached across the table, then thought better of it and pulled his hand back. I've spent 4 years building more wealth, more success, thinking it would fill the void. But seeing you with them, it made me realize what really matters. I don't want to fix the past, Veronica. I want to be better in the present. Their main courses arrived, creating a brief respite from the emotional intensity. Veronica cut her salmon into small pieces, remembering how Charlotte did the same thing, a habit she'd picked up from watching her mother. They're happy, she said finally. We have a good life. Movie nights and bedtime stories and Sunday morning pancakes. I won't let anyone disrupt that. I understand. Ethan nodded slowly. But consider this. Someday they might have questions about why some families have 2 parents and they don't. About why their mother kept their father's last name but there's no father in the picture. Don't. Veronica's voice was steel. Don't you dare use their potential future questions to manipulate your way back in. That's not what I'm doing. Ethan pushed his barely touched food away. I'm trying to say that I want to be someone they can be proud of, even if it's just as a family friend. Someone who supports their mother and respects the boundaries she sets. Veronica studied him, really looked at him. The polished exterior was the same, but there was something different in his eyes, a humility she'd never seen before. If, she emphasized the word, I ever consider letting you into their lives, it would be on my terms. No promises, no expectations. I understand. No, I don't think you do. Veronica leaned forward. One wrong move, one hint that you might hurt them the way you hurt me, and you'll never see them again. I will move to the other side of the country if I have to. I wouldn't expect anything less. For the first time that evening, a genuine smile touched his lips. You're an amazing mother, Ronnie. I know I have no right to be, but I'm proud of who you've become. The use of her old nickname stung, but differently than before. It felt like an echo from another life, one that had led her here but was no longer who she was. I should go, she said, checking her watch. The sitter. Of course. Ethan signaled for the check. Thank you for coming, for listening. As they walked to the valet stand, the spring night air cool against her skin, Veronica felt something shift inside her. Not forgiveness. She wasn't ready for that, but perhaps understanding. I'll think about what you said, she offered, but I need time. Time is something I can give. He handed her car keys back. I'm not going anywhere, Veronica. Not this time. She got into her car without responding, but as she drove home, his words echoed in her mind. The twins would be asleep when she arrived, and she knew she'd do what she always did, stand in their doorways, watching them dream, marveling at how 2 little hearts had healed her broken one. The question was, could she trust the man who had broken her heart to be worthy of theirs? The weekend after the dinner with Ethan passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost surreal. Saturday morning pancakes, Oliver's karate exhibition, Charlotte's impromptu living room dance performances. The routine that had become Veronica's anchor now seemed fragile, like a soap bubble that could burst at any moment. Mommy, watch this, Oliver called from the backyard, where he was attempting to perfect a cartwheel. Charlotte sat cross-legged nearby, methodically making a dandelion chain and offering running commentary on her brother's technique. That one was better, Charlotte nodded sagely, but you still fell over at the end. Veronica watched them from the kitchen window while loading the dishwasher, their ordinary Saturday banter a counterpoint to the chaos in her mind. She hadn't told Michelle about everything Ethan had said at dinner, about the therapy, about his father, about wanting to be someone the twins could be proud of. Need help? Lauren's voice made her jump. Her sister had shown up unannounced, bearing coffee and an expression that said she wouldn't leave until they talked. The twins are fine outside for a few minutes, Lauren continued, setting down the coffee cups. Tell me what happened at dinner. Veronica dried her hands, buying time. He's changed. Men like Ethan don't change. He's been in therapy for 2 years. Lauren's eyebrows shot up. Ethan, I can handle everything myself. Anderson went to therapy. I know. Veronica accepted the coffee, grateful for its warmth. He talked about his father, about his obsession with legacy. He seemed honest. Of course he seemed honest. He's trying to get what he wants. Outside, Oliver finally managed a wobbly but successful cartwheel. Charlotte's cheer of approval drifted through the window. That's just it. Veronica said quietly. I'm not sure what he wants anymore. He said he's not trying to be their father, that he'd accept whatever boundaries I set. Lauren studied her sister over the rim of her coffee cup. But what if he's right? What if someday they have questions I can't answer alone? What if they resent me for keeping him away? What if he hurts them like he hurt you? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Through the window, they watched as Charlotte abandoned her flower chain to attempt her own cartwheel, Oliver immediately stepping in to spot her. They're so good together, Lauren observed. You did that, V. You created this family. I know. Veronica pressed her forehead against the cool glass. That's what terrifies me. One wrong move could destroy everything we've built. A crash from the backyard had both women rushing to the door. They found Charlotte on the ground, tears welling in her eyes, while Oliver hovered anxiously nearby. She fell trying to copy me, Oliver explained, his voice trembling. I tried to catch her, Mommy, but I wasn't fast enough. Veronica scooped Charlotte up, checking for injuries. Just a scraped knee. Nothing that her special Mickey Mouse Band-Aids and a kiss couldn't fix. You did exactly right, she assured Oliver, who still looked worried. You were being a wonderful big brother. Inside, as Lauren helped Charlotte pick out a Band-Aid, the one with Mickey's face, not just his ears, Veronica's phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. No pressure. Just wanted to say thank you for dinner and for listening. He texted you. Lauren read over her shoulder, frowning. It's the first contact since dinner. Veronica put the phone away without responding. He's respecting my need for space. The old Ethan would have already filed for visitation rights. Maybe that's what I'm struggling with, Veronica admitted, carefully applying the chosen Band-Aid to Charlotte's knee. He seems genuinely different, but I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. All better? She asked Charlotte, who nodded bravely. Can we have hot chocolate? Oliver asked. Charlie always feels better with hot chocolate. Only if you help make it, Veronica smiled, touched by his concern for his sister. As the twins measured cocoa powder with exaggerated care, Lauren pulled Veronica aside. Remember what Mom always says? When people show you who they are, believe them. He's showing me something different now. Maybe. Lauren squeezed her arm. But the stakes are higher this time. It's not just your heart on the line. Later that night, after the twins were asleep, Veronica found herself in her home office, staring at the adoption papers framed on the wall. The moment she'd signed them had felt like coming home. Like every heartbreak had been leading her to Oliver and Charlotte. Her laptop glowed with an unfinished email to Patricia Wilson at Golden Heart Adoption Center. She'd started and deleted it 5 times, unsure how to ask for guidance about navigating this situation. Finally, she began typing, Dear Patricia, I hope you're well. I'm writing because I could use your wisdom. The twins are thriving, Oliver's becoming quite the athlete, and Charlotte's creativity continues to amaze me. But I'm facing an unexpected challenge. The words flowed easier after that, detailing Ethan's return and her concerns. Patricia had guided countless families through complex situations. If anyone could offer perspective, it would be her. As she wrote, Veronica heard soft footsteps in the hallway. She found Charlotte standing outside her room, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. Bad dreams, sweetheart. Charlotte nodded, lifting her arms to be carried. Veronica scooped her up, breathing in the sweet smell of baby shampoo and innocent dreams. Can I tell you a secret? Charlotte whispered as Veronica tucked her back into bed. Always. Today when I fell, I wasn't really crying because of my knee. Charlotte hugged her elephant tighter. I was scared Oliver would be mad at me for copying him. Oh, sweetie. Veronica stroked her daughter's hair. Oliver loves you. He was worried about you getting hurt. Like you worry about us? Exactly like that. Veronica kissed her forehead. And that's what family does. We worry about each other, take care of each other. Even when we make mistakes. The innocent question hit home with unexpected force. Especially then, Veronica whispered. Back in her office, she finished the email to Patricia, adding one final paragraph. The twins teach me something new every day about love, forgiveness, and second chances. I just need to know I'm making the right choice, whatever that choice turns out to be. She hit send, then opened her messages. Ethan's text sat unanswered, a digital reminder of all the complications ahead. After a long moment, she typed, Thank you for understanding about needing time. The twins are my priority. Any decisions I make will be based on what's best for them. His response came quickly. I wouldn't expect anything less. Take all the time you need. Veronica set her phone aside and walked to the twins' rooms, standing in each doorway to watch them sleep, her nightly ritual that always centered her. Oliver had kicked off his covers as usual, one arm flung dramatically across his pillow. Charlotte clutched her elephant, her dark curls spread across her pillow like a halo. They were her miracle, her redemption, her greatest adventure. Whatever she decided about Ethan, it would have to serve the beautiful, fragile, perfect world she'd built for these two precious souls who had saved her when she thought she was saving them. Patricia Wilson's response arrived on a Wednesday morning, just as Veronica was dealing with an unexpected crisis. Oliver had woken up with a fever, throwing their carefully orchestrated routine into chaos. Charlotte was refusing to go to school without her brother, and Veronica had 3 client meetings she couldn't reschedule. "But who will take care of Oliver if I'm not here?" Charlotte demanded, her bottom lip trembling as Veronica tried to get her ready for school. "I promise I'll take good care of him, sweetheart," Veronica assured her, checking Oliver's temperature again, 101.2. "Mrs. Peterson next door will help while I'm in my meetings. I want to stay too." Charlotte's voice rose with determination. Oliver, curled up on the couch with his favorite blanket, opened one eye. "I'm okay, Charlie. You should go learn stuff and tell me about it later." Veronica's heart swelled at his attempt to reassure his sister, even while feeling miserable. The twins' bond never ceased to amaze her. Her phone chimed with an email notification, Patricia's name catching her eye. But before she could open it, another crisis erupted as Charlotte accidentally spilled her cereal trying to eat while putting on her shoes. "I'll clean it up." Charlotte's eager helpfulness resulted in an even bigger mess. Just then, the doorbell rang. "That's Mrs. Peterson," Veronica muttered, trying to navigate the cereal disaster. But when she opened the door, she found Lauren instead. "Cavalry's here," her sister announced, taking in the scene. "Michelle called me, said you might need backup today." Veronica could have cried with relief. "Oliver's sick. I have meetings. Charlotte won't." "Say no more," Lauren swept in, already removing her coat. "I can work remotely today. Go get cleaned up. I've got this." 20 minutes later, with Charlotte finally convinced to go to school, after Lauren promised to send hourly updates about Oliver, Veronica sat in her home office, Patricia's email open on her screen. "Dear Veronica, your email brought back memories of many similar situations I've encountered over the years. Each family's story is unique, but they all share a common thread: the desire to protect children while navigating complex adult relationships. What strikes me most about your situation is not Ethan's return, but your growth since we first met. The young woman who stood in my office 4 years ago, heartbroken but spirit undefeated, has become exactly the mother those twins needed. You asked for my guidance, but I think you already know the answer. You've always had remarkable instincts when it comes to the twins. Trust them now. That said, I would like to share something with you. Last year, we had a case involving a birth father who returned after initially refusing any connection with his child. The adoptive mother, like you, Rita, was hesitant. She asked me a question that changed her perspective. What would I want my child to say about how I handled this situation when they're old enough to understand it? Remember, allowing Ethan to earn a place in the twins' lives doesn't diminish your role or the family you've built. If anything, it shows them that love can grow in unexpected ways. I'm always here if you need to talk more. With warmth, Patricia. Veronica read the email twice, then glanced at her phone. She had 15 minutes before her first video call. Through the open door, she could hear Lauren reading to Oliver, his congested giggles at her silly character voices bringing a smile to her face. Her phone buzzed, a text from Michelle. "Lauren's there. Good. Now breathe. We've got you." Another message popped up, this one from the school. "Charlotte wanted us to let you know she's being extra good, so you don't have to worry about her while taking care of Oliver." Tears pricked at Veronica's eyes. Her support system, her family of choice, never failed to show up when she needed them. Making a decision, she picked up her phone and called Ethan. "Veronica," he answered on the second ring, surprise evident in his voice. "On Oliver's sick," she said without preamble. "I have meetings I can't reschedule, and my sister's helping, but..." She took a deep breath. "Would you be willing to pick up some children's fever reducer and drop it off? The pharmacy's out for delivery and we're running low." The silence on the other end lasted only a moment. "Text me the address. What brand do you usually use?" "The grape-flavored one. He won't take the cherry." "Got it. Anything else he needs?" "Popsicles. Soup? The offer was so normal, so parent-like, that it caught her off guard. The dinosaur-shaped popsicles are his favorite. She found herself saying, "I'll be there in 30 minutes." True to his word. 28 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Lauren answered, having been briefed on the situation. Veronica could hear the murmur of conversation downstairs as she finished her first meeting. When she came down, she found Oliver still on the couch, but now with a fresh popsicle, its blue juice staining his lips. A bag from the pharmacy sat on the coffee table, along with another bag that seemed to contain every child comfort item the store carried. Popsicles, crackers, juice boxes, and even a new soft blanket with dinosaurs on it. Ethan stood awkwardly by the door, maintaining a respectful distance. He'd clearly come straight from the office, his suit at odds with the children's medicines and snacks he'd delivered. "His fever's down a little," Lauren reported, her tone professional but not unkind. "The new medicine seems to be helping." "Thank you," Veronica said, looking at Ethan. "You didn't have to get all this." "I wanted to help." His eyes moved to Oliver, who was examining his blue popsicle with scientific interest. "I hope it's okay that I got the blanket. The pharmacist said kids like something special when they're sick." Oliver looked up at the sound of Ethan's voice, studying him with the direct gaze children reserve for new adults in their world. "I like dinosaurs," he offered. "Me too," Ethan replied softly. "The long-neck ones were always my favorite. Those are Brachiosaurus," Oliver informed him solemnly. "They're plant eaters." A ghost of a smile touched Ethan's lips. "You know a lot about dinosaurs. Mommy got me a big book about them. Charlie helps me read the hard words." Veronica watched the interaction, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. This was the first time Ethan had spoken directly to either twin, and somehow it was both better and worse than she'd imagined. "I should go," Ethan said, catching her expression. "I hope you feel better soon, Oliver." As he turned to leave, Oliver's voice piped up again. "Thank you for my blanket, and for helping Mommy get my medicine." "You're welcome, buddy." After he left, Lauren raised an eyebrow at Veronica. "That was unexpected." "I'm not sure what I'm doing," Veronica admitted. "You're showing the twins that helping others matters," Lauren said quietly. "That's never wrong." Later that night, after both twins were finally asleep, Charlotte had insisted on reading Oliver 3 stories to help him feel better. Veronica sent Ethan a text. "Thank you for today." The blanket was thoughtful. His response came quickly. "Thanks for letting me help. How's his fever?" "Nearly normal. He wants to go to school tomorrow, but I'm keeping him home one more day." "Smart mom decision. Let me know if you need anything else." Veronica stood in Oliver's doorway, watching him sleep wrapped in his new dinosaur blanket. Patricia's words echoed in her mind. What would she want the twins to say about how she handled this situation when they were old enough to understand? Maybe the answer wasn't about keeping Ethan out or letting him in. Maybe it was about showing the twins that family could be complicated and beautiful at the same time, that people could make mistakes and still find ways to make things right. She just hoped she wasn't making a mistake of her own by opening this door. The following week brought changes so subtle they were almost imperceptible, like shadows lengthening at sunset. Oliver's innocent mention of "the nice man who brought my dinosaur blanket" had sparked Charlotte's curiosity, leading to questions Veronica wasn't quite ready to answer. "Why did he know about the medicine I like?" Oliver asked over breakfast. "Exactly 1 week after his fever." "Did you tell him?" "No, sweetie. He asked at the pharmacy." Charlotte looked up from her cereal, her analytical mind working overtime. "But why did he want to help?" "Is he your friend, Mommy?" Veronica stirred her coffee. "Buying time. He's someone I used to know. He wanted to help, because that's what kind people do. Like how Mrs. Peterson brings us cookies," Oliver suggested. "Something like that. But it wasn't like that at all." And Veronica knew the comparison wouldn't satisfy them for long. The twins had inherited her perceptiveness, if not her genes. The morning crescendoed into its usual chaos of backpacks and shoes and last-minute permission slip signatures. As Veronica hustled them toward the door, her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "The Children's Museum is hosting a special dinosaur exhibition this weekend. No pressure, but Oliver might enjoy it. They have hands-on fossil activities." She stared at the message, conflicted. Oliver would love it. He'd been obsessing over dinosaurs even more since getting the blanket, but taking the twins to a public place where they might run into Ethan felt like crossing a line she wasn't sure she was ready to cross. "Mommy, we're going to be late." Charlotte's voice broke through her thoughts. At school drop-off, Veronica ran into Lisa, who was looking harried after chasing her youngest down the hallway. "Coffee?" Lisa suggested. "I need caffeine and adult conversation, not necessarily in that order." 20 minutes later, they sat in their usual cafe, Veronica's internal debate spilling out between sips of latte. "So he's been texting you about kid-friendly activities?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like someone's doing his homework." "That's what worries me," Veronica admitted. "He's being perfect, respectful, thoughtful, never pushing. It makes me wait for the other shoe to drop. Or maybe he's genuinely changed." Lisa shrugged. "People do that sometimes. My ex was a complete jerk during our divorce, but now he's actually a decent co-parent. This is different. He's not their father. No, but he wants to be something to them. And from what you've told me, he's going about it the right way, following your lead, showing up when asked, not demanding anything." Veronica's phone buzzed again. A photo from the twins, a teacher, showing Charlotte helping Oliver with his reading assignment. Her heart squeezed at their familiar pose, heads bent together over the book. "The dinosaur exhibit does sound perfect for Oliver," she mused. "So go," Lisa suggested, "but set boundaries. Tell Ethan which day you're planning to go so he doesn't accidentally run into you there." The idea had merit. Control the situation instead of avoiding it. Later that afternoon, between client calls, Veronica texted Ethan back, "The dinosaur exhibit sounds good for Oliver. We're planning to go Saturday morning. I appreciate you letting me know about it." His response was immediate. "Thank you for telling me. I'll make sure to go another time. Let me know if they enjoy it." The simple respect for her boundaries in his response made something tight in her chest loosen slightly. Saturday morning found them at the museum, Oliver practically vibrating with excitement as they approached the dinosaur exhibition. Charlotte, ever the supportive sister, matched his enthusiasm despite her own preference for the art room upstairs. "Look, Mommy, they have real fossils." Oliver pressed his face against a display case. "And you can dig for bones like a real paleontologist." "Can we do the dig site first?" Charlotte asked, already pulling them toward the activity area. "I'll help you find the biggest bones, Ollie." Watching them don protective goggles and tiny lab coats for the fossil diggy, Veronica snapped a photo without thinking. Her thumb hovered over the share button, Ethan's contact information seeming to pulse on the screen. "Ms. Anderson?" She turned to find Ryan, the twins' wide swim instructor, with a young boy who looked about 8. "This is my nephew, Danny," Ryan explained. "He's visiting for the weekend and insisted on seeing the dinosaurs." "Hi, Danny," Veronica smiled, then called to the twins. "Oliver, Charlotte, look who's here." The reunion was enthusiastic, with Oliver immediately launching into a detailed explanation of proper fossil excavation techniques to Danny, while Charlotte demonstrated her digging methodology. "They're getting really good in the water," Ryan said, watching the kids interact. "Especially Oliver. His confidence has grown a lot. He practices his kicks in the bathtub." Veronica laughed. "Charlotte times him with my old stopwatch." Ryan's smile was warm. "Listen, I know you said timing wasn't right before, but maybe we could." "Mommy, look." Oliver's shout interrupted whatever Ryan was about to suggest. "I found a real tooth." The moment broken, Veronica moved to examine Oliver's discovery, aware of Ryan's disappointed expression but unable to focus on it. The twins' excitement demanded her full attention as they moved through the exhibit, each new discovery more thrilling than the last. By the time they left, Oliver had filled his junior paleontologist notebook with careful drawings, and Charlotte had created a story about a friendly brachiosaurus who helped smaller dinosaurs reach high leaves. At home, while the twins sorted through their museum souvenirs, Veronica finally sent the photo to Ethan. She attached a simple message. The dig site was a big hit. "Thank you for the suggestion." His reply included a link to a children's book about a young girl who becomes a paleontologist. "Saw this at the bookstore. Might be good for both of them. Science for Oliver. Storytelling for Charlotte. Only if you think it's appropriate, of course." Veronica found herself smiling despite her reservations. "They'd love that," she replied. Oliver's been reading to Charlotte every night from his dinosaur encyclopedia, like his mother, always teaching, always sharing knowledge. The personal observation made her pause. It was the first time he'd directly referenced their past together, and somehow it didn't hurt as much as she expected. That night, as she tucked the twins into bed, Charlotte asked the question Veronica had been dreading. "Mommy, is the nice man with the blanket going to bring us more presents?" "No, sweetie. He just wanted to help when Oliver was sick." But he told you about the dinosaurs, Oliver pointed out sleepily. That was kind of like a present. Veronica smoothed his curls back from his forehead. Sometimes people can be kind without giving presents. The most important gifts are the ones you can't wrap up, like how you help each other, or how you share your stories. Like how Oliver shares his dinosaur blanket with me when I'm cold, Charlotte asked. Exactly like that. As she turned out the lights, Veronica realized that perhaps she'd been looking at this all wrong. Maybe the question wasn't whether to let Ethan into their lives, but how to teach the twins that relationships could be complicated while still being valuable. She picked up her phone and typed one more message to Ethan. The book would be welcome. They're learning that kindness comes in many forms. His response was simple. They have a great teacher. Standing in the hallway between her children's rooms, Veronica felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. Not an earthquake, but a gentle realignment, like tectonic plates moving slowly but inexorably toward a new configuration. She just hoped this geological metaphor wouldn't end in volcanic eruption. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, while Veronica was reviewing contracts in her home office. Oliver and Charlotte were at their after-school program, and she'd been enjoying the rare quiet when her phone lit up with Golden Heart Adoption Center's number. Veronica, it's Patricia. Do you have a moment? Something in Patricia's tone made Veronica's stomach tighten. Of course. Is everything all right? We've received an inquiry about Oliver and Charlotte. Patricia paused, her next words careful. Their birth mother has made contact. The world tilted sideways. Veronica gripped her desk, grateful she was sitting down. What does she want? Information. Primarily. She's not contesting the adoption, Patricia added quickly, but she's expressed interest in learning about their well-being, possibly establishing some form of connection in the future. Veronica's mind raced to the sealed files in her desk drawer, the ones containing what little information she had about the twins, biological parents, a young mother, barely 19, who'd left them at the center with nothing but a note saying she wanted them to have a better life than she could provide. Does she know about me? About our life? Only what's in the public record. She saw the same magazine article Ethan did, actually. It prompted her to reach out. The mention of Ethan added another layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. He'd just begun to earn small measures of trust. The book he'd sent had become the twins' favorite bedtime story, and his occasional text messages about child-friendly activities had proved thoughtful and respectful. Now what do I need to do? Veronica asked, her professional instincts kicking in despite her emotional turmoil. Nothing immediately. She's willing to proceed at whatever pace you're comfortable with. But Veronica, Patricia's voice softened. In my experience, these situations often work best when handled proactively. The twins will have questions someday. After hanging up, Veronica sat motionless, staring at the family photos on her wall. The most recent showed Oliver and Charlotte at the dinosaur exhibition, their faces glowing with excitement as they examined fossils. The happiness in that image felt suddenly fragile. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. Lunch tomorrow? Michelle's back from New York. Veronica typed back, emergency friend meeting. Tonight. My place after the twins are asleep. Both friends responded immediately with confirmation. Then another message appeared. Ethan sending a link to an upcoming children's theater production of The Lion King. The normality of it, the simple thoughtfulness, made tears spring to her eyes. Just when she'd started to believe their complicated family situation might work, this new challenge threatened everything. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of routine, picking up the twins, helping with homework, preparing dinner. She watched them more closely than usual, seeing shadows of their birth mother in Charlotte's artistic grace and Oliver's determined focus. "Mommy, you're being extra huggy today," Charlotte observed as Veronica held their goodnight embrace longer than usual. "Just extra full of love," Veronica managed, kissing her daughter's forehead. By 9 o'clock, both children were asleep, and Michelle and Lauren arrived bearing wine and concerned expressions. "Spill," Michelle commanded, pouring generous glasses. "What's the emergency?" Veronica told them everything, her words tumbling out between sips of wine. When she finished, silence filled her living room. "Well, shit," Lauren said finally. Michelle, ever the lawyer, was already thinking strategically. "The adoption is final. She has no legal standing to—" "That's not what this is about," Veronica interrupted. "She's not trying to take them. She just wants information, connection." "Like Ethan," Lauren's tone was careful. God. Veronica pressed her palms against her eyes. How do I handle both? How do I explain to the twins that suddenly all these adults want to be in their lives? You don't have to decide everything tonight, Michelle pointed out. Take time to process. But that's just it. Veronica stood, pacing her living room. The longer I wait, the harder it becomes. They're getting older, asking more questions. Charlotte already wonders about why some families look different from ours. Lauren refilled their glasses. Have you thought about talking to Ethan about this? What? Why would I? Because, Lauren continued, like it or not, he's become part of this situation, and he might have perspective worth considering. She's right, Michelle admitted reluctantly. He's been surprisingly decent lately. Veronica sank back onto the couch. I don't know if I'm ready to be that vulnerable with him again. Then start smaller, Lauren suggested. Talk to Patricia first. Get more information about the birth mother, her situation, her reasons, what kind of connection she's hoping for. And maybe, Michelle added, consider talking to a family therapist, someone who can help you navigate telling the twins when the time comes. A noise from upstairs had them all freezing, but it was just Oliver turning over in his sleep. His bed squeaked sometimes. Veronica realized she'd have to oil the springs soon, another small detail of parenthood that grounded her. What would you do? She asked her friends. Honestly, I'd protect my kids, Lauren said immediately. But sometimes protection means preparing them, Michelle countered, giving them tools to handle complex emotions and relationships. Veronica's phone lit up with another text. Ethan again. Oliver left his junior paleontologist notebook at the coffee shop today. I saw him drawing in it while you were getting Charlotte's hot chocolate. The staff is keeping it safe behind the counter. The simple message, proof that he'd noticed such a small detail about her son's day without intruding or interfering, made her decision crystallize. I need to talk to him, she said quietly. Not about everything, not yet. But he deserves to know that things might get complicated. Are you sure? Lauren asked. No. Veronica managed a weak smile. But I'm sure the twins deserve to have adults in their lives who can work together for their benefit. If Ethan's serious about being part of their world, he needs to understand what that really means. After her friends left, Veronica sat in her usual spot between the twins' rooms, listening to their peaceful breathing. Tomorrow she'd pick up Oliver's notebook and maybe, just maybe, take the first step toward a conversation that could change everything. She typed a message to Ethan. Thank you for letting me know about the notebook. Can we meet this week? There are some things we should discuss. His response came quickly. Of course. Name the time and place. I'm here to help. Whatever you need. Upstairs, Charlotte mumbled something in her sleep, probably talking to the characters in her dreams, as she often did. Oliver's bed squeaked again. Normal sounds of her normal family life, except nothing about their family had ever been normal, and maybe that was okay. Maybe normal was overrated compared to real. Messy and complicated and full of love in all its unexpected forms. They met at a small cafe in Brookline, far from their usual haunts. Veronica had chosen it deliberately. Neutral territory, quiet enough for conversation but public enough to keep emotions in check. She arrived early, selecting a corner table that offered privacy without isolation. When Ethan walked in, she noticed he'd dressed down for the occasion. Khakis and a blue sweater instead of his usual suit. Another small indication that he was learning to read situations better, to adjust his approach accordingly. I got Oliver's notebook, he said by way of greeting, placing it on the table. The dinosaur stickers on the cover were slightly curled at the edges from frequent handling. Thank you. Veronica touched the notebook gently. He was worried about losing his drawings. They ordered coffee, her usual oat milk latte, his black coffee with a splash of cream. The familiar rhythm of this interaction felt surreal given what she needed to discuss. Something's wrong, Ethan observed, studying her face. Is it the twins? Are they okay? They're fine. Veronica wrapped her hands around her coffee cup, drawing strength from its warmth. But something's happened that will affect them. That's why I needed to talk to you. She told him about Patricia's call, about the birth mother's contact, watching his expression shift from concern to surprise to something more complex. What does she want? He asked when Veronica finished. Information, apparently. Possibly connection down the line. Veronica took a sip of coffee. Patricia thinks we should handle it proactively. Because the twins will have questions someday. They already do. Charlotte especially. She's been asking about different types of families. trying to understand where we fit. Ethan was quiet for a moment, turning his coffee cup slowly. You know, he said finally, when I first saw that magazine photo of you three, I felt something I'd never experienced before. It wasn't just regret about leaving. It was shame about my reaction to adoption. Veronica looked up, surprised by his candor. I was so focused on biology, on carrying on the Anderson name, he continued. But looking at that photo, the way Oliver helps Charlotte with everything, the way they both look at you with such trust, I realized family isn't about DNA. It's about choice. Daily choices to love, to protect, to show up. Like noticing a forgotten notebook, Veronica suggested softly. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Like that. Like trying to be worthy of even the smallest role in their lives. That's what makes this situation so complicated. Veronica pushed her coffee aside. You've been different, respectful, thoughtful about boundaries. The twins are starting to ask about the nice man who suggests activities and notices things. And now their birth mother wants connection too. It feels like too much change, too fast. What does your heart tell you to do? Protect them. But I'm not sure what protection looks like in this situation. She met his eyes. That's partly why I wanted to talk to you. You've changed so much in how you think about family. I need perspective from someone who understands the stakes. Ethan leaned forward, his expression serious. Can I share something I learned in therapy? When she nodded, he continued. We talked a lot about my father, about how his rigid views on family and legacy shaped my own. But the breakthrough came when my therapist asked me to imagine the twins at 30 looking back on their childhood. What would I want them to say about the adults in their lives? Patricia asked me something similar, Veronica whispered. I want them to say that the people who loved them put their needs first, that the complicated adults in their lives figured out how to work together instead of against each other, even if that means sharing space with their birth mother, especially then. Ethan's voice was gentle, because that would show them that love isn't finite, that adding more people to their support system doesn't diminish the core family you've built. Veronica felt tears threatening and blinked them back. When did you get so wise about family? When I realized what I'd thrown away. He reached across the table, then stopped himself. Sorry. Old habits. It's okay. Veronica surprised herself by reaching over to squeeze his hand briefly. Thank you for being someone I could talk to about this. What's your next step? Meeting with Patricia tomorrow. Getting more information about the birth mother's situation. What kind of connection she's hoping for. Would you... Ethan hesitated. Would you like me to go with you? Not to interfere, he added quickly. Just for moral support. Or I could watch the twins if you need time to process afterward. The offer hung between them, weighted with possibility. A month ago, she would have refused automatically. But now, actually, she said slowly, could you take them to that Lion King production you mentioned? It would give me time to meet with Patricia without raising questions, and they've been begging to see a real theater show. The joy that lit up his face made him look younger, more like the man she'd first fallen in love with. Really, I'd love to. I could get 4 tickets, invite Lauren to come too, if that would make you more comfortable. His immediate inclusion of Lauren, understanding that Veronica might want family supervision, confirmed she'd made the right choice. That would be perfect. She pulled out her phone to check calendar dates. And Ethan, thank you for proving people can change. Thank you for giving me the chance to prove it. He glanced at Oliver's notebook. Should we look inside? Make sure none of his drawings got damaged. Together, they carefully opened the notebook, examining Oliver's meticulous drawings of dinosaur bones and Charlotte's added artistic flourishes in the margins. Each page was a testament to their unique personalities and their incredible bond. Look, Ethan pointed to a recent entry. He's documented every person who's been kind to him. The librarian who found his favorite dinosaur book, Ryan who teaches him to swim, the museum guide who explained fossils, and me, for the blanket. Veronica studied the childish handwriting. Nice man, mommy's friend, brought medicine and soft blanket when I was sick. That's who I want to be for them, Ethan said quietly. Someone who makes their list of kind people. Someone who helps their mother when she needs it. Nothing more, nothing less. Looking at him now, Veronica saw not the man who had abandoned her, but someone who had done the hard work of becoming better. Someone who might actually be an asset in navigating the challenges ahead. One day at a time, she said, closing the notebook carefully. We'll figure this out one day at a time. Outside, the spring sunshine painted Cambridge in shades of possibility. As they walked to their cars, Veronica felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps understanding. Sometimes the hardest storms brought the most necessary changes. 2 months after the conversation in the Brookline Cafe, Veronica stood in her backyard watching Oliver and Charlotte chase fireflies in the early evening light. The summer air was thick with possibility, carrying the sounds of their laughter and the distant hum of cicadas. Got another one. Charlotte triumphantly held up her jar, where a firefly blinked its mysterious code. Remember to let them go before bedtime, Veronica reminded them. Everything deserves its freedom. Lauren sat beside her on the patio, both sisters nursing glasses of wine while keeping an eye on the children. You're really going through with it tomorrow, Veronica nodded, thinking of the carefully planned meeting ahead. After weeks of preparation, including several sessions with a family therapist recommended by Patricia, they had decided to take the first step toward expanding their family circle. The birth mother, Rachel, had proven to be nothing like Veronica's fears. Their initial meeting, facilitated by Patricia, had revealed a young woman who had grown up considerably in the past 4 years. Now 23, Rachel had finished college and started a promising career. She wasn't looking to disrupt the twins' lives, only to know they were thriving and perhaps, someday, answer the questions she knew they would have. The therapist thinks they're ready, Veronica said, and honestly, so do I. The plan was simple but carefully structured. Rachel would come to the house, along with Patricia, for a casual introduction. Ethan would be there too, a decision that had surprised everyone but felt right. Over the past 2 months, his consistent presence at carefully planned activities had helped the twins adjust to the idea of adding new people to their world. Did you ever imagine this? Lauren gestured at the yard, where the twins had now enlisted Ethan's help in their firefly pursuit. He had arrived earlier with pizza, his regular Friday contribution to their evolving family routine. Not in my wildest dreams. Veronica watched as Ethan showed Oliver how to cup his hands gently around a firefly, his patience matching the boy's excitement. The sound of the front door opening announced Michelle's arrival. She joined them on the patio, kicking off her heels with a sigh of relief. Court ran late. Did I miss the firefly catching lesson? Just in time for the great release. Veronica smiled, checking her watch. 5 more minutes, kids. Time to say goodbye to your firefly friends. The children gathered their jars, carefully opening them one by one. Each firefly's departure was accompanied by a solemn goodbye and thank you for visiting, a ritual Veronica had instilled to teach them about respecting all living things. Mommy, can we do this again tomorrow night? Charlotte asked, climbing into Veronica's lap despite being slightly damp with evening dew. Tomorrow's a special day, remember? We're having visitors. The lady who helped us find each other, Oliver asked, settling between Michelle and Lauren on the outdoor sofa. They had begun preparing the twins weeks ago, using age-appropriate language recommended by their therapist. Rachel wasn't just the lady who helped them find each other. She was someone who had made a difficult choice out of love, ensuring the twins would have the best possible life. That's right, Veronica confirmed. And Patricia from the adoption center will be here too. And me, Ethan added quietly, taking the chair next to Veronica's. If that's still okay, Oliver nodded seriously. You can help us show her our dinosaur collection, and Charlie can show her dance routine. The simple acceptance in his voice made Veronica's heart squeeze. The twins had adapted to Ethan's presence with the remarkable resilience of children, accepting him as a family friend who brought books, suggested adventures, and always remembered their preferences, from Oliver's passion for dinosaurs to Charlotte's love of strawberry ice cream. As the last fireflies blinked their way into the darkness, Michelle raised her glass. To family, in all its beautiful, complicated forms. To family, the adults echoed, while the twins clinked their juice boxes in solidarity. Later, after the children were asleep and their friends had gone home, Veronica found Ethan helping to clean up the kitchen. You don't have to stay, she said, but without the defensiveness that would have colored such a statement months ago. I want to help. He loaded the last plate into the dishwasher. Besides, I could use the distraction. Nervous about tomorrow. Terrified, she admitted, but also hopeful. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. He leaned against the counter, his posture relaxed but respectful of her space. You've given me a masterclass in putting the kids first, in showing that love grows when you share it. We've all learned a lot. Veronica wiped down the counter, more for something to do with her hands than actual necessity. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you came back. Not for us, that chapter is closed. But for them, for the kind of expanded family they deserve. The kind of family that can include a birth mother who made a loving choice, a reformed father figure who finally learned what matters, and the incredible woman who brought it all together with her strength and grace. Veronica felt tears prick at her eyes. When did you become so good with words? Therapy, he grinned. Lots and lots of therapy. A small noise from upstairs had them both looking up. Charlotte's probably kicked off her covers again, Veronica said. She always does when she's excited about something. Want me to check on them before I go? The offer was casual, but Veronica understood its weight. Yes, she said softly. That would be nice. They climbed the stairs together, stopping first at Oliver's room. He was sprawled across his bed, one arm wrapped around the dinosaur blanket that had started their journey toward this new normal. In Charlotte's room, they found her exactly as predicted, covers askew, one foot sticking out. Ethan carefully adjusted her blanket while Veronica smoothed her daughter's wild curls. The moment felt profound in its ordinariness. Two people who had once hurt each other deeply, now united in their love for these remarkable children. At the front door, Ethan paused. Whatever happens tomorrow, just remember, you've already given them the greatest gift possible. You've shown them that family can grow, change, and strengthen through challenges. That love isn't a finite resource to be hoarded, but an endless well that replenishes itself when shared. Veronica thought of the journey that had brought them here, from heartbreak to healing, from isolation to connection. One day at a time, she reminded him, echoing their cafe conversation. One day at a time, he agreed. See you tomorrow. As she locked up for the night, Veronica remembered something Charlotte had said while releasing her fireflies. They're not really saying goodbye, Mommy. They're just spreading their light somewhere new. Tomorrow would bring changes, challenges, and opportunities. Rachel would meet her biological children, not to reclaim them, but to add another thread to the tapestry of love that surrounded them. Ethan would continue his journey from regret to redemption, proving that people could change when motivated by genuine love, and Veronica would stand at the center of it all, no longer afraid of sharing her children's hearts, confident in the unshakable bond they shared. Because sometimes the most beautiful families were the ones that defied definition, grew beyond boundaries, and proved that love, like light, only grew stronger when shared. The end. If you were in Veronica's shoes, would you forgive Ethan and allow him to be part of the children's lives? Consider that he abandoned Veronica when she needed him most, but now shows true repentance and change through his actions. To what extent should we give a second chance to someone who has hurt us deeply, especially when there are children involved? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment your thoughts. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.